Hello and welcome to another session of Apocalypse Keys. This is All the Bells on Earth, and we are in the midst of the second investigative scenario, the Manananggal murders, and we are going to be taking up with that today. I do want to check in with everybody about the picks they've made for XP, and and if there's any advances, ruin or otherwise, that people have gotten. We'll also check in on that. Last time, there was a number of directions with the investigation, talking with people locally, checking out the scene, drawing on the ghosts in the area, talking with some of the supernatural neighbors, talking with the sort of elder of the people here in this apartment building. And then at the end, there was a summoned beast that the group dispatched fairly handily, that resulted in the finding of a desecrated artifact there in the midst of it. We have a number of clues that are on the table. We got 7 of those. This is a difficulty 6 mystery. So what that means is that when we go through the process of connecting those keys, those clues to our facets, you need at least 6, and every clue that's past 6 raises your roll for our kind of opening the door roll up to a maximum of +3. But it may be that you want to get more information just to like see if maybe some things do fit or don't fit into the solution that you come up with. The play structure for this game is partially about keys and finding those, but it's also about finding context, things that aren't like the concrete keys that we're going to lock in, but finding the things that we can help us figure out what's going on or pull into our theories. And then the other part of the play cycle is dealing with our characters' shit internally, and dealing with the interactions and relationships between our characters from that. The big thing that we ended on last time was the return of one of the victims that came in, and Samson saw Samantha Reyes, one of the victims who had been torn apart, stumbling in, apparently reassembled. So that's one of the things we have here on the hooks. One of the things I want to do is want to start with today with Samson, giving you a chance to do that interaction because it's about death and that's your thing. But then also I want to make sure that we give Cetus a chance to call a scene on his own, because we kind of didn't have as much of a chance to do that last time. So that's sort of our two-step start today for what we're going to be doing. But before we get too much further, let me check in with everybody and see about advances and XP picks and so on. So let's see, this is session 5. So we start with Cetus. Cetus, did you get an advance, ruin, or otherwise?
No, but I have been trying to figure out what my ruin move is, and I have not used a ruin move yet. And so I have decided, if it's okay, I will choose my ruin move when I use it, if that's
Absolutely.
possible.
100%. Absolutely do that. You're welcome to add if you decide. There are also those division moves. If one of those appeals to you instead, you can always
Okay,
take that instead.
sounds good.
Uh, so let's look there, uh, just above where your powers of darkness are. We have that start of session, choose one question. What do you want to have for your XP question today?
I thought I was going to. Am I unmuted?
Yep,
Yes. I thought I would choose. I haven't tried. Did you lose yourself in the past and its memories? I haven't tried that one
okay.
yet.
All right. So we'll set that there. Then that brings us to Samson. Did you get oh, we've got a couple conditions marked. I like it when I see that.
Yeah, I have a couple of conditions marked, and I have a new ruin move,
Okay.
so I maxed out my ruin track, and I took you can't escape the truth. Your hard-earned knowledge can be used as a weapon if you learned how to sharpen the truth to its finest edge. You may at any time reveal a dark and terrible secret of an NPC or a PC if invited in a scene. If I mark one rune, um, they give up something valuable or stay and fight and blah blah blah. Mark two a rune, and it uh you speak in edges and cut mercilessly. So, and there's some decisions there.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. I like that very much. And then just with your powers, what do you want for your start of session XP question?
I took did you find something or someone worth living for?
Okay. Interesting. That brings us to Beelzebub.
Yes. So I did not get any new moves.
Okay.
I do have several conditions.
Yes, you do.
Excited to get more. And my XP trigger is: did you find a willing victim to sate your hunger? If yes, mark XP.
Okay.
I kind of want to flag just so that it's on my mind. So just in terms of moves you might make against me. This playbook has a bunch of stuff about like infecting people with my hunger. There's XP triggers about it. There are some moves I could take that would let me do it, and I am not interested in that part of the playbook,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Sure.
So just as like, if I feed on someone and they whether willingly or not, and I get a bad roll, I'd prefer that we not do like, and then my hunger infects them.
Okay.
If you're okay with that. I was just thinking about it as I was looking at the XP triggers.
Sure. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's fair, and a lot. I have plenty of other hard
Yeah,
moves
there's
that I
lots
can
of
make.
stuff in here to work with. I'm not
Yes.
worried.
Awesome. Uh, and then last but not least, we come to Vane. Vane, did you get a advance or a ruin advance?
I did not.
Okay. And what do you want for your XP trigger?
This time I'm going to pick, did you learn something significant about your prophecy?
Your prophecy. Okay. So we take up, it is pouring outside. I think that there are people that are kind of stumbling out into the hall after the crashing and smashing of this summoned serpent. Georgie is moving to like get people, back in their rooms and get things cleaned up, and get that cleared out. Cetus has found this artifact, but I want to bring kind of sweep the camera through the hallways before we come down. We see the rain behind, and we see Samson. You see this soaked version of Samantha Reyes there. What do you do?
Um, I think I step forward as if to greet death once again. And then I think as I step, closer to Samantha, that's whenever I get, kind of get shocked because normally time stops at this point, and this isn't the normal process. And I'm like, I think uh I greet her as death. Death, have you come to speak once again?
And I think that you will realize as you kind of approach that this is not the death you know. This
Right.
is another death, and it will look at you and kind of watches even as the body is kind of moving and trying to make sense of what's going on. And this Samantha Reyes is like, "What? Who are you? What are you?"
Oh, um, I'm a friend. and I'm here to help guide you through your new existence. I've talked to many like us who are no longer fully in the land of the living. Um, so, and I think I'm trying to comfort them a little bit.
Okay.
And I ask, is there anything that you need?
Trying to make a connection here, it feels like.
Ooh.
Does this feel like you actually like using your powers of death to connect, or is it that you're revealing your heart? What do you feel like this is reaching for?
Yeah, let me look at the results. I think it's more along the lines of revealing your heart.
Okay.
Sounds correct.
How many darkness tokens do you want to spend? Did you get any from that sort of start of that interaction there?
No, I did
Okay.
not. Oh, let me look at my conditions. Ooh. I think I got one from Lonely.
Yeah.
And I had two to begin with. So I'm going to spend 2 tokens.
Okay.
So I'm down to 1. And I'm going to roll that. That is a 9.
That is a 9. So that falls in that sweet spot.
Oh, good. Okay.
Let me get over to that. Of course, the spreadsheet's like, oh, hang on a second.
The choices are you can gain a bond, clear a condition. If they taught you something, mark XP. If they gave you hope, clear 1 mark of ruin. I think. Yeah.
Let me tell you what you will realize about this death as you're talking.
Fantastic.
That this is not a good death. This is an unpleasant death. This is a death that is imposed, and you can tell there's some weird sort of maybe morality tied up with it, judgment maybe tied up with it, and you can tell that this is a death that is going to bleed out into the area. It is going to cause problems here to other people.
Okay. So I think I haven't. I don't think I've normally confronted death in this way. So I think for my reveal your heart move, I'm going to say that this taught me something important in Mark XP.
Mhm.
And I think this is my interaction. This is kind of my job, is to interact with the living through the dead and all of that. And this is a little bit blasphemous in that this is something dead reaching out to make more dead. Is that right?
Yeah, there's just something really wrong with it.
And I think I'm gonna. Uh, what is your purpose here? What do you want to do? I want to see what it says.
And like you see Samantha, like she's kind of trying to talk, and then there'll be that shift as that death will kind of move forward to speak with you with a different kind of raspy voice. It says, I am sent here to bring judgment. There is sin here, and I am going to eat that and spill out my venom in this place.
And I lean forward and I say,
You may feast along with me if you wish.
um, we both know you don't belong here. This is a place full of those who are good and are trying to do their best. And you should abandon this realm and go back where you belong. And I'd like to use my new move.
Okay.
That's the your knowledge can be used as a weapon, and you've learned to sharpen the truth to its finest edge. So that's the. Ooh,
Yeah. Do you want to spend
I th
one
do you
ruin or
think
two?
Perfect. I was like, is this qualify as a secret? But I think it does. So let's make it. Oh, I think let's make it 2 because that's so delicious.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're losing money not doing that.
That's right. Do you want me to read what it says?
Yeah, let's hear the text on that.
You speak in edges and cut mercilessly. They decide, they accept your words and do as you wish for now, or they offer you another truth at great cost to themselves.
They say, I am not the only one. There will be others coming. I can wait until the others come, and then all of us can come and do this. We have been sent a task, but
Sent
I can wait.
to task by who?
You seek a harbinger. You know that. I will go sit this body over here on this bench.
Well, why don't you follow me? And I think I'm going to go back to see it. You have friends. I think I have friends too. And I'm going to see if I can't coax it to coming with me to see the rest of them.
Okay.
To see Beelzebub
Yeah.
and Vane and see.
I think that this will take a bit of kind of wheeling back and forth. You've kind of pushed it back, and now you're going to kind of draw it forward. But it certainly has given you a secret, and probably at a cost to itself, of warning you that there will be others.
That's right.
Let me come to Cetus in the meantime. Cetus, I think you can hear the sound downstairs as people are getting things cleaned up. You know, I think the last big sound you heard was the sound of Beelzebub roaring, and a Vane smash, and that occurring. What is it that you were doing here?
So I think where we left Cetus last time was he was in the room with the elder and her servant, I believe, or her
Yes.
or assistant, maybe, when the monstrous serpent crashed through
Yeah.
the wall and picked up Beelzebub in his mouth and went off down the hall. But the artifact, I just wanted to be clear, the artifact that was left when the serpent was destroyed, or it was just a vision that I had about
No,
the
you have the physical sort of wooden carven object that has been marked and defaced.
Yeah, so I think we see the rubble of the elder's quarters, and I think Cetus had pushed the elder out of the way to protect her from the serpent. But then I think he steps forward and picks up that artifact, and I think as he does so, we see like some kind of flashback montage for him where he just you hear the hissing of snakes, and then you see like all these coiled snakes together, maybe some fingers in amongst them, and maybe some red eyes staring out from behind the snakes, and then you hear like the crunching of stone against stone, and Cetus is feeling more and more trapped and desperate. And then from the outside, I think what the people seeing him from the outside, if we break the flashback, we see Cetus kind of his skin. He always has these kind of cracks in his skin. He becomes even more stone-like, and the cracks become deeper, and maybe some little pieces of his skin fall off. Yeah, so he's having a bit of a flashback to some kind of memory that's been triggered by this artifact and the serpent, I think. and he can run off now, or I don't know if the elder or the assistant respond.
I think that the elder he'll feel the whack of a cane on your shoulder. It's not a gentle thing.
Some dust puffs off.
It's very
Hits
much
his head.
the crack, and you'll hear the elder's voice. Stay with us.
And Cetus shakes his head, and some dust and white dust comes off, and he stands up, and he says, "I don't know what that was."
Some venom runs through your dreams.
I need to find. I need to. I need. I need to go. I need to get out of here. I need. And he starts stumbling towards the door.
Okay. Yeah. Where do you want to go? Like you out in the hall, you see people are kind of staring at you as you're going out in there. There's a kind of a flicker of lights. It is midday, but the sky is so overcast it's still dark in this hallway, and the overhead lights with the snake having gone through are probably a little bit shot.
I think maybe this would be the time to use a move. Maybe
Sure.
I think it's kind of almost an instinctual thing that he's trying to disappear somehow.
Okay.
And I want to try this move that I haven't tried yet. I think it's called the Man of a Thousand Faces.
Sure.
A Man of a Thousand Faces. Yeah. So you've learned to reflect the thoughts and memories of others to help them see who they wish to see. When you allow your form to fluctuate and take on the face of another, spend darkness tokens and roll. So I think I will spend maybe a darkness token.
Okay.
1, that'll take me down to 2. And then the dice roller. Let's see what happens with this, and then I can narrate it. So that'll be a +1. Let's see how bad this is. Ooh, it's bad. It's a 6.
It is a 6. Now, you could spend bonds if you wanted to take it up to an 8.
Let me see what a 6 is. A 6 is a thought or memory bears the mark of a harbinger, causing you to lose control of your form entirely. Oh, that's pretty bad. The keeper will tell you. I have a bond, I think, with. Oh no, I've got a 6. I would need to spend 2 bonds, right?
Yes, you would.
Okay, that's a lot of bonds.
It is.
Okay, I think this isn't working, so I think I'm going to take the miss.
Okay. Well, so the good news is you get to mark XP.
Oh, okay, good.
But
Bad
I
news later.
think that you stumble out in the hall and you see the people looking out around you, and this place is like, in your soul that this place is awful. It is blasphemous. It is tainted. These people are awful and tainted. You don't see them, their faces. You just see like a smear where they are. And you hear the voice of Sister Teresa. She has come out in the hall and she's looking and she's saying your name, and it hurts your ears because she's just as bad as any of these things here. It may be worse because she bears the mark of the church, and this place just feels vile to you right now. And I think you will find yourself rushing out of here, pushing people aside, I imagine that you crash out through a window at the end of this hall.
He's a cowardly lion.
Yeah, and kind of bounce off of a couple of things before you could, hit into a pile of something down below. What condition do you want to mark?
Let's see. It would be. How about defensive makes sense?
Yeah, I think you'll come crashing down to there, and it's only kind of once you're outside that maybe some of that venom, literal and figurative, starts to kind of come out, and you start shivering just from the malice of this voice that was in your head. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, and I see kind of rain coming down still on me because I'm outdoors, and
Absolutely.
the venom's kind of maybe a creepy green color or something,
Yeah.
kind of
It's
coming out of my
coming.
pores.
No, it's coming out of those cracks.
All of my craps, it's pulling
Yeah.
out. Yeah, it's falling out of the cracks. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I still have that weird old artifact in my hand.
Absolutely. Uh Vane, are are you still with the monster, like the finished off of it? Are you talking to the people there, or do we think you see Cetus throw himself out hear the crash and see Cetus having thrown himself out from one of these windows? Where do you want to be here? Where do we want to take your scene?
I think I'm talking to the people there, trying to.
That was a giant serpent, wasn't that? It's just a snake. These things don't do that, and they're talking very like, well, I heard, but those are forest things. Why are they? Would we have a snake in the city? That's not right. And then they kind of look at you like,
And Vane kind of awkwardly keeps like, will pat somebody on the arm, just like pat, it'll be okay. And then kind of like move on to the next person, pat, it's gonna be all right. And then they're like, pat, next person just, it's okay.
uh, and I think uh, Georgie, who you were talking to earlier, will kind of step over and go, oh, okay. I I think you've done more than enough here. Let's step off to the side. Everybody go back to your apartments. Uh just a little magical hijinks, illusions, and Georgie will turn to you and will say, what are you?
I
You are not a song. You're not Duende. What are you?
I am a creature summoned from hell.
That's a pretty broad answer.
It is, but it is me.
Were you summoned for this?
No, we're here to help.
Well, you did help. You stopped that thing. Uh,
The proof is in our actions.
yes, that's one way you could read the situation. He kind of looks around at the knockdown doors and the walls that are buckled in places. All right. Well, what can I do?
Make sure everyone's okay. And reassure them. They don't seem to be reassured by me for some reason.
That does seem unusual, doesn't it? Because it seems like you'd be a person who would be really calming. Okay, I will do that. I'll let you get back to your fellow social workers.
All right.
Okay.
I'll find my fellow social workers. All right.
Let's come to you, Beelzebub. I think you're probably coming down off of the fighting high
Yeah.
that you had there. You see Vane calming people down. I do think you hear the crash of something somewhere off in the distance, and
Yeah, I'm probably pretty gross too.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just in this thing's mouth and then its brain.
Like what is that like? Like, are you ichor covered? Are you just sticky? Is it?
I mean, I think I'm sticky. I think I kind of do. I mean, this doesn't actually get me clean, right? But I do kind of like a doggy shake off kind of thing as I'm
Fine sound of
coming
wet
down.
splats as the stuff comes off of you and hits
Yeah,
the walls.
but it's not like it doesn't really do it, right? I'm still
Right,
kind
not
of
at all.
kind of there.
It is raining outside.
Like, pull my clothes a little tighter around me as they're not in the shredded and gross, and grunt something to myself about needing a shower as I step out of. Are the remains of the serpent still there, or did it
No, its serpent is gone.
Right, it faded out,
Yeah.
right? It kind of
like clearly whatever was like on you, touching you, seems to have remained. Like,
yeah,
like you have a certain inertia that holds this to it.
yeah,
But the rest of it is gone.
yeah. And I think mostly I'm hungry is
Okay.
the answer, right? I came out of this with that condition, craving.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't think it's not a, I come out of it just like I need a snack. Is kind of where I'm at.
So what do you do? Where do you go? I mean, do you need
I mean,
to?
Bane and Georgie and some of those folks are still around here, right? Like, Bane didn't take off?
Yeah, I think you'll see that Vane has been attempting to calm people. And Georgie is kind of standing by and is trying to get things in order. So they are close by at hand.
Yeah, and I saw Cetus walk out.
Well, you don't see Cetus right now. He was back upstairs.
Oh, he was upstairs. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think what I sort of like nod at Georgie and Vane. But I think I kind of want to try and find Sister Teresa.
Okay.
We're kind of old friends.
You'll head up a couple of flights of these concrete stairs. Despite how warm it is outside, those stairwells are always cold and kind of damp. And you'll actually meet Sister Teresa coming down, and she will say, "Beelzebub."
Sister, think I was looking for you. This is something. This is, and I'm like having a hard time articulating. This is not in character for me, right? This is like whatever happened. I mean, I do think it's the craving, right? It's like clouding my mind a little bit. And I say to her, whatever's going on here is not what we're used to.
Your friend Cetus is unwell.
Is anybody well here? I'm certainly not doing terribly well.
Do you think that's what I meant when I said that? That I was just kind of talking in general terms? No, your friend Cetus was screaming upstairs and then threw himself out a window, and he is down out in the alleyway.
Am I responsible? All right, sister. I will go see how Cetus is doing.
And she will point you the way there. She will stop you and she will go, "You are you're unbalanced right now. And I worry what danger you pose to those around you."
Isn't this what I just told you? I thought you didn't seem to take it all that seriously a moment ago.
No, I understand you're not well, but you have a very particular kind of danger around you.
I'm hungry, sister. You know what that's like. I'm not describing, just to be clear, what she would once have known. It's up to you whether she still remembers it, right? I'm not saying that I am feeling hungry, right? I am saying
she is aware. She is.
I am hungry is what I am.
She says, "Do you need to go back to division? Can you control it?"
I just need a snack.
Please don't feed on anyone in this building.
Is there anyone who might be willing to let me take a taste?
That is not something that I can say. Perhaps one of your compatriots would assist you.
See what I can do.
I'll come back to you. I will bring you and Cetus together. Vane, you're there, and people have kind of moved off. There's some people standing around, and Samson is approaching, and he has someone with him. Are you trying to keep this person out of sight? Are you doing this out on the open, Samson? What are we doing here?
I think I'm doing this in the open.
Okay, then you will hear screaming almost immediately, shrieks and screaming, and like people freaking out. And you will see one person there actually just falls into hysteric, racking sobs, and falls back against the wall as they see this person that's with Samson. And Vane, you will see it is one of the murder victims walking around here, and Samson has kind of walked them in the middle of this group.
Is this a new friend of yours, Samson?
So I think as I walk up, as people scream in fear and all of that, I think I work that a little bit and I tell them, yes, you should flee in fear. My intention is just to get them to leave.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
if you do that, all but one of them will run.
Right.
The last person, she's just kind of back against
Frozen.
the wall, tears running down her face, and just kind of racking hysterical sobs.
So I think I go up to Vane and I tell Vane, friend is a curious word. I wouldn't quite use the term friend, but I thought that everyone from Division should meet the new my new acquaintance. And they have friends coming along soon too.
Very well. Although I gotta say, I worked pretty hard on reassuring those people, and I had them in good shape, and then, whatever.
Well,
Whatever. And then
I'm
I
sorry,
sort
I
of
didn't mean to um I didn't mean to uh mess up everything that you had worked hard for, but considering that, my friend here plans on eating everything, and destroying everything within reach, and is bringing more friends to do so, I thought it might be a good idea that those people weren't around.
You will see
I
the
think that's
body, like this woman. She's like, what is going on? And she sees the woman who's hysterical, and she goes, Emily, and starts walking towards her. What's going on, Emily? And you'll see Emily just kind of, she sinks kind of fetal as the body Samantha Rae is desperately trying to make sense of it comes over. What's going on? What do you do, Vane?
I I think we should find the other members of the division. I think that's a really good idea. And I'm looking at Samson, and you just see me go, and and then I'm gonna look around for Beelzebub and Cetus.
Okay, so you kind of move to try and track them down. Samson, do you leave this person here, or do you try to drag them with you, or do you wait? What do you do?
Um, do I take Samantha with us? Yes. The Emily, I think that I fall back as Vane starts to escort Samantha, sort of like Samantha's in between the two of us.
Okay.
And, as soon as Samantha is heading off with Vane, I turn back to Emily and I say, I'm sorry. You should leave. Get someplace safe and far from here for now. And then I'll stand back up and follow
Yeah.
along with them.
She'll slide, like fall over probably. And it's just laying there crying on the floor now. Her tears kind of washing clean the linoleum. She's trying to hold her wings in. They kind of keep popping out. And you leave her alone in this lobby, kind of echoing with her tears and her crying. And Samantha is saying to you, oh, who are you? What is going on?
Oh,
Vane?
we are friends. We want to introduce you to other people.
And it's very clear to you, Vane, that this body doesn't know what's going on either.
Well, let's go find our friends.
So you two kind of keep the walking corpse of Samantha Reyes kind of between you,
Yeah, definitely.
moving along. Cetus, it's probably a good moment or two. Like, where do you end up? Like, where are you lying when the camera comes back to you?
I think he's crawled over to like it's next to a dumpster in the alley, and I think he's lost control of his form quite a bit, and maybe the lower half of his body is gone into like a pool of like black tar kind of thing, and the upper half of his body is that kind of stoniness, but with all the cracks and still the green goo coming out, and he's got kind of a crazed look in his eyes. He's not well.
And I think you're kind of just pulling the upper part of your body up a little when you probably hear the slam of a side door. As I don't imagine Beelzebub is particularly subtle and coming out. And you'll step out, kind of glance around the alleyway, and you will see Cetus in that condition, Beelzebub.
I sort of like crouch down. I do that like kind of like crouch with like elbows right above knees. Make eye contact with Cetus and say, "How you doing there, bud?"
And I think Cetus, you're crouched there. I think Cetus is going to lash out and push you back. He's got the defensive condition, and he just says, "Stay away from me."
I mean, so I have the raging condition. Say fuck that. Kick you. And turn around and walk back into the building. I'm going to take. I think I'm going to take 3 darkness tokens for that.
Cetus, how many do you want to take?
Oh, I got to take some darkness tokens for being defensive, right?
Yeah, you embody the condition.
I'll take a couple
and you
more.
don't have to, but I think it's an opportunity to if you want.
Yeah, I'll take a couple more. I think, and I want. Can I narrate the blow?
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, I didn't want to go into detail.
Unless you had something special.
No. I mean, it was not like what I'll say was like it wasn't like I'm trying to. It was more of a shove with my foot than a kick, is what I'll say.
Oh, okay.
But you can narrate how you react to it for sure.
Yeah. So what does that look like, Cetus?
Including the physics, right? Like what happens to you.
Yeah, I'm just seeing Cetus maybe tossed up against the alleyway wall, and it's the upper part of him because the lower part of him is just liquid at the moment, so it's not impacted by you. I think he hits the wall, and big cloud of all the little pieces of stone that he's made of actually make a spray pattern off, but he actually looks more awake.
I think I hear that. I hear that, right? And I turn around and still like fuming, right? It's like, is this how you want to live? Is this what you're about? You don't have to be like this. You can fall from that window and land here and be perfectly fucking fine. This is a choice you're making, Cetus.
Cetus' eyes get really wide, and then you see him kind of pull up as if he's reforming the bottom half of his body from the pool of tar, and reorganizing himself. Yeah, he. It was his wake up call. Beazle gave him his wake up call.
I think because you're up against the wall still, right? You were talking about the splatter. So I think that I get up real close and I put one hand against the wall next to your head, and I put my face like right up against yours, and like really angry, like there's like spittle coming from my lips. I'm not like spitting on you, but I'm sure but like it's that kind of like angry. I say it must feel good to have that much control.
And I think Cetus leans forward and gives Beelzebub a big hug, and says, "Thanks for waking me up, my friend. The hatred here, it infected me. What was that? What the fuck was that? I lost control."
I think I say, especially with like the physical proximity, and we talked about the effect your
Oh,
smell has on
he
me.
smells so good.
Yeah. I think I say, I don't know, but I'm about to lose control right now. May I? Right, you're kind of like liquidy, or you were a moment ago, right? I ask you, may I take a sip?
And yeah, so there's liquidy still at the bottom. Yeah, actually, no, maybe there are parts of me that are liquidy still as I'm reincorporating, right? And yeah.
Do you know what that means when I ask you that?
What does that mean when you ask me
Well,
that?
so I feed on desire and hope and leave behind an uncontrollable addiction to pleasure or pain. So I think, like, especially in this moment, as you are like gaining, control of yourself and maybe like wanting something and hoping for something in a way that you weren't a minute before, right? Like there's something, and your smell, like what that means is I want to take a sip of that. I want to take a sip of what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm. And I think the desire that he's feeling, Cetus, is the desire for Beelzebub's strength, and so that's what you're going to be feeding on.
That's
So,
fine.
Beelzebub, do you want to resolve that gnawing edge of hunger move?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm only going to spend, because I actually really don't want to go over here. So I'm only going to spend one token, which means I'm also going to finish with more than 5 tokens. So we'll come to that in a second.
Okay.
But I don't want more. I don't want to gain hunger conditions or clear conditions. I want more conditions. So I'm going to roll 2d6 plus 1. And that's a 9. So that worked out nicely. In terms of what I want there, we'll do torn between a second. So on an 8 to 10. So sorry. So I think I like lean into maybe a patch of that wet like on your neck, and I kind of lap at it. Like this is very great. I blunt the worst edges of my hunger and feed only on as much as I need. So I'm being very careful.
Mm-hmm.
And this is fine, and I'm satisfying that basic hunger. But you're not really who I want to be feeding on.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really who I want to be feeding on at all. I want to be feeding on hold on one second. I think it's Sister Teresa.
Okay.
I think that's why I went to look for her in the first place. I think in the past, whatever, when she was a agent of division, sometimes perhaps this, she would let me feed on her. She would help me hunt. I'm not sure exactly. And
Hence why she said very firmly, do not feed on anyone.
yeah, exactly. And I'm finding her distance frustrating. And I would like to be feeding on her. So I gain a bond with her.
What do you want to have then? Like, let's resolve the torn between.
Mm-hmm.
Have you narrate that, and then I want to get Cetus's reaction to that.
Yeah. Torn between is a basic move. I think I'm also still craving, right? I didn't clear that condition. So I think I start to try and like feed more vigorously, and then I like pull back, and I'm like, this is and like punch the wall, right? And like the anger is the thing that's overcoming the hunger here, and saying, and then I really, this is right, an outburst in damage. I think yeah, I think I punched the wall.
Okay.
And leave like a big hole there, and in addition I kind of like, I'm like, well, I think I say to Cetus, not good enough.
So mark that ruin. Cetus,
Yeah.
what's your reaction
So
to this sequence here?
Okay, is there something mechanical I should be aware of? That
No, he's done what. So mechanically, what's happened is, he ended up with too many darkness tokens, and if you do that, then you have to resolve the torn between. And the choice he made was to mark a ruin. He remains at that same level of darkness tokens, but he's kind of showing his frustration. He had a couple of other options, but he went with that.
Okay, but there was something that Jesse, you said about when you feed.
yeah, so I feed on hope and desire and leave behind an uncontrollable addiction to pleasure or pain. That's what I feed on, what remnants I leave behind. Now, when I roll that move, there's like different sort of response. Like, I blunt the worst edges of my hunger and feed only on as much as I needed in that moment. So I think there's fictional space to sort of, say it didn't have much effect on you. That's sort of like what that's like. But if you want to say I left you with some,
yeah, and even just a feeling of a desire for pleasure or pain, maybe it could just be an echo of that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was something. Because I think there was something. Okay, so what do we see? We see Cetus kind of drop back against the wall as Beelzebub storms off, right? And he kind of just looks at the hole in the wall next to him, and I think what it's going to do is stimulate what it was his desire in the first place, which was to somehow commune with Beelzebub's strength. And he's just looking, and there's kind of there's like a pleasure in that. So kind of a little bit of an ecstasy mode on his face. And he feels, rejuvenated by, paradoxically, by being fed upon. So I think that echo of the wanting the strength is still here.
Perfect.
And then he maybe watches Beelzebub storm off.
Let's do this. Let's take our first break here. We'll take 10. When we come back, we will bring Samson and Vane sort of in connection, and we'll get the four of you together and choose next step. So take 10. Okay. So I think that, Vane, you're kind of in the lead here with this animated corpse behind you, and then also there is Samantha Reyes. So you will come out and you will see Beelzebub kind of making the storm off, and Cetus kind of literally and figuratively pulling himself together by the dumpster there, probably still showing the cracks, probably some of that greenish goop getting washed away by the rain, and his legs kind of reforming from liquid, but maybe more determined look on Cetus's face than you've seen before. What do you say to them, Vane?
What do I say to Cetus and Beelzebub?
Yeah, like, are you going to try and stop Beelzebub from leaving? Are you talking to Cetus? Like, what's going on?
I'm going to say, Beelzebub, can you stop? We've got, and I'm going to kind of gesture helplessly at this shambling corpse between us.
Yeah, I stop. I don't say anything. I stop.
And again, I gesture helplessly at, and I say, this is Samson's.
Samson's. Looks like one of Samson's.
Samson, you're there. You come up, you see this tableau. What are you saying?
Well, Beelzebub, it seems that this acquaintance is looking forward to supping on all of the misery that's about to occur, and has called in friends to help in the banquet.
I look at this. I say, you don't want to sup on misery. Misery always leaves a bad taste in your mouth and probably some indigestion. There are things that taste better than misery.
And I turned to Samantha and I'm like, you should listen to Beelzebub. He's a connoisseur.
What are you people talking about? I don't understand.
Can I take a peek in her mouth?
What is that a metaphor, or are you literally walking over to look?
I mean, I think I'm asking for. First of all, I think I asked Samson that. I think that's an in-character statement. Can I take a look at her mouth?
Well, Samantha is very confused. But there's something more there too. You won't hurt her, will you?
I mean, I'm not planning to hurt her.
Samantha, we're going to try to help you, but there's some bad things coming.
Didn't say that either.
I know,
what?
but
Wait, what? Very, very cold.
You'll get used to it. I promise.
Can I just, out of character, clarify something for a second? Because I
Sure.
think so. Samson earlier was talking to like a manifestation of death or a personification of death or something, right?
Mhm.
And that talked about eating things. And now Samantha is this corpse that's confused about that. Was that personification of death speaking with Samantha's body or voice? What did I feel like there's a step in the middle I may have missed.
It's inside her. This is an animated corpse. She's very confused, and she's carrying inside her a death bomb.
Got it right. That was the thing. I was like that intermediate piece I missed. Yeah. So I would love to examine her, to take a look in her mouth specifically.
Okay. We'll come to that move in a second.
Yeah.
What, Cetus? What are you doing during this?
So I think Cetus has pulled himself together, somewhat.
Literally and figuratively.
All of the above, and I think the green has been washed off by the rain, and he's walking a little more confidently, actually quite a bit more confidently, towards his compatriots, and I think he's still hungry for strength. So, a question here. When he sees Samson, and one of Samson's powers is super strength, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So I wonder if Cetus will try to like come up beside Samson and kind of lean into him a little bit and try to absorb some of that strength. Um, uh, because he's feeling hungry for that strength, and Beelzebub's not giving him the time of day right now. So because he has power absorption, I don't know if I can only use that by releasing the darkness or what. But
That
but
feels
that's
like
my
reveal your
idea.
heart in some ways mechanically, doesn't it?
Maybe, yeah,
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 it feels like you're trying to get a connection to get that strength. You're using your power to do that. Do you mind reading it that way?
sure, yes. Let's do it that way. I like that
Yeah.
better. So I can use my darkness power in that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
How many tokens do you want to spend on this?
I will go ahead and spend a couple so that I don't do the torn between. That'll take me down to 5.
Okay.
And or maybe I should do it. But okay, I'll spend a couple. And this is just a roll with
Yeah,
plus
reveal your heart with +2 then.
let's see what happens. It's a 9.
The 9. So you will connect. And you get to choose one of those results from the 8 to 10 there on reveal your heart, and then Samson can decide whether they like give part of their strength or kind of hold back.
Uh-huh. Um, I think what makes sense, well, either I gain a bond with Samson, or why don't I gain a bond with Samson?
Okay.
That makes sense. And I think narratively, I mean, I think it's actually, I'm just Cetus is just coming up next to Samson, and and this interchange, and just maybe lightly putting his hand on Samson's shoulders, and I don't know if Samson actually experiences anything as Cetus kind of absorbs some of his strength.
I think the way I feel this is you come over and you kind of put your arm on my shoulder, and I think to me it feels like you are leaning on me for support.
Yeah.
And I realized that last fight that we had with that giant serpent probably took more out of you than I thought. And I think I kind of, reach underneath, I start to support you, and I pick you up a little bit. Yeah. So I think that is where I'm choosing to deepen the connection. And I think something in the back of my brain says, you know, you shouldn't be this heavy. It shouldn't be this draining.
Uh-huh.
But, I'm kind of like, oh yes, a friend in division needs a little bit of support at this point. Physical support. Yeah.
Let's come, Beelzebub. Let's check what you were going to do, and then we'll come back to Vane. You said you wanted to look into her mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's. Hold on, let me take a quick look at it. I think there's like a. There's like a, there's. I mean, my powers aren't really this, so maybe not. But like, I think it's a physical examination.
Okay.
But I'm definitely like looking for like physical signs that she could eat the misery of people, right? My sort of understanding of how eating stuff, even emotions, works, right? Is there's a physical component to that. And I'm sort of like examining the inside of her mouth. Maybe like, I don't know, she's a corpse. I don't know how available her insides are. And like I'm not just looking I'm looking for magical stuff, supernatural stuff too. but I'm kind of trying to figure this out. And I think I'm grasping at keys.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
I don't know how much
Uh,
she's going along with this, but
uh, uh, she's kind of caught between you and Vane and Samson, and even though she's a walking corpse, you all are very scary.
mhm.
And I think she's off balance. Uh, how much do you want to spend?
Yeah, I'll spend 2 on this.
Oh, thank you, Samson. I'm sorry, I forgot to kind of come back to you on that. So you'll clear that lonely. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'll spend 2 on this. So yeah, so let's roll 2d6 plus 2. That's a 10.
That is a 10. So
I
I think,
uncover a key. The keeper tells me
yeah,
what it is.
you will kind of look and you can tell that somebody has stitched this body together. It's ritual magic, and I think you can tell that. I mean, that you know. But I think the thing that will strike you, and I think there's a moment that this is one of those on-screen effects that is maybe a little more gross.
Mm-hmm.
It's that we see you kind of reach in and like stick your hand into her mouth, and maybe your hand goes a little farther.
Sure.
And then we see you, because you saw something, and you pull out, and you will see that it's very much busted, but and kind of now corroded with a little bit of gore and ichor. But somebody shoved a broken cell phone down her throat,
Delicious.
and I think you'll get like a glimpse maybe of in the sort of the last bit of, you know, phosphined into the screen of this cell phone as it died of just, you can see ranting text messages, you know, you bitch, I'll get you, how dare you, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Who sent you, Drew Smith? You remember who sent you these texts? Or were they even sent to you? Is this your phone?
Film feels familiar. She kind of takes it and puts it in her hand. You see her kind of do that thing that people do where they're very good at working their phone, but I, as a 50-something, can't do. They do that, but she's doing that in that way. It's not doing anything, but she's sort of reflexively
Mm-hmm.
doing it, like this is a talismanic object kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is my phone.
Do you remember who sent you these nasty messages?
How did I get here?
She walked with you, right, Samson?
But I don't remember anything. I just remember it was in the rain, and then I walked in, and they were screaming in the building. Somebody said something about a snake.
I can't do anything with this, Samson. I got the phone. That's maybe something. I don't know. She's your friend, right?
Acquaintance.
Are you acquainted with her, Vane? Maybe you can get something out of her. Aside from a phone, like information, not objects.
I'll stop and stand in front of her and look very earnestly into her face and say, what's the last thing you remember before Samson?
Someone was very angry with me.
Someone you knew?
Yes, I think.
You think you knew them? They were very angry with you. Do you remember why they were angry?
I think I told them no.
Ah, All right.
I know it was a man. It's always a man.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was a man too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but and again, Vane will reach out in that kind of awkward pat, you know, and because it's clear that she's just sort of like not quite sure what to do with this poor woman. But she says, I would really like to talk to the person that you're thinking of. You don't happen to know or feel where they would be or anything like that?
Oh no, I'm so cold and I just want to lay down.
Well, we'll take you somewhere where you can lay down.
And I
That's
think Samson takes Cetus's hand and walks over to where Samantha is and says, leans over to Cetus and says, "Can you feel anything from her?"
Now, Cetus is grown. So he's tall now. He's still slender, but he's tall now, like almost taller than Samson, maybe even. So in this process, and he moves forward, and maybe he pushes Beelzebub out of the way with a surprising strength, and then he reaches forward and touches what's her name again?
This is Samantha.
Samantha's face. And I think I guess I could use my you can't hide your heart from me. If that works.
Sure.
Sure. So I'll go ahead and let's see. I'll do a 1 on that. +1. Let's see what that does. It's a 9.
That is a 9.
So, on a
So you get to ask 2 questions.
2 questions. Or I can do that weird thing, right? That you don't realize what
But
realize
yeah,
you know.
well, that's one of them. You can do that in addition. That's one of the
Right,
2.
okay. So maybe I'll wait on that one. What are you hiding? And that could be not something she's consciously hiding, but something she doesn't have access to, I would think, too.
I think that it's unformed, like the specifics of it, but there's a guilt in her. Some of it you can feel the flash of that she hurt that woman Emily who was weeping, but also that she was involved with somebody she shouldn't have been, that she knew they were bad, that she knew they were dangerous, but and that they would hurt her, but she couldn't get out, and she feels like a guilt about that, like she knows that that's a problem.
So yeah, I can imagine her kind of almost breaking down just a little bit as Cetus touches her and accesses that guilt. And Cetus's hand kind of opens as he's like cupping her her face now as she's feeling the guilt. And then maybe the second one will be, what don't you realize you know? And you'll have to help me with this one, Lowell. I need to draw a line between a key and a facet of the mystery.
Yeah, let's look at the keys
and declare an irrevocable truth.
Yeah. So what you would do is you would look at one of the keys there and say what facets connected to, and tell me something that we're gonna like is gonna be a fact here.
Okay. So I would connect it to a facet first. Let's
Yeah.
see which one calls to me. How about for some reason I'm drawn to, I won't tell anyone, I promise. And I will connect that to the murder victims.
And what do you think it is? Like what's the connection there? What's going on with that?
Let's see. I won't tell anyone, I promise. I think the murder victims were all part of, I don't want to call it a conspiracy, but all part of something, some yeah, let's call it a conspiracy. The murder victims were all part of a conspiracy with someone to remain unidentified. This person who leaves the threatening texts and such. And does that work?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to tell more?
Well, no, I let me suggest this then as kind of a modification of that.
Yeah.
That you realize that maybe all three of these murder victims, the connection is that they were tied intimately to this, to the killer. Like
The killer
they were
himself. Okay.
they were all, involved with them in an unhealthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like a fair?
Yeah, that they had to keep secret. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Shall I write that in, or do you want?
Yeah, you could put that like in that on the gray bar beside it. You could tie that
Yeah.
in. Like you realize that all these murder victims, whoever killed them, these people were tied to them. They're guilty about it. It was an unhealthy. They got dragged in. Maybe there were compulsions that they received, but that this is a user and an abuser who did this to them beyond just being, a killer.
Okay. I put all three murder victims were intimately involved with their abusive killer.
Okay.
All right. And then Cetus just shoots a big smile at Samson. Hey, I did it.
I think Samson looks a little horrified.
Can I lay down now?
Oh yeah. Good work, Samantha.
And I think you do, like, when you will see Vane kind of behind you in that hall, kind of waiting, you will see Sister Teresa has come wandering out, and she will look at you and say, I can take her if you wish.
Please do, sister. And Cetus shoots a look at Beelzebub because he knows that Beelzebub is hungry
Yes.
for sister.
Yeah. I mean, I think I ask her, is it okay if I tag along?
If you think it will help her.
Sure. Might help.
And she will go to take Samantha to lay down.
Cetus whispers to Samson, I don't think it's going to help.
I'm gonna follow.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's come back to Vane Sampson. Like, what is it that you want to do?
I want to turn to Samson and be like, so the friends that are coming, like, could we get more details on that?
So the being inside of Samantha said it couldn't wait to devour this place and eat the misery and make more of it. And when I told it to go away, said, "No, I have friends coming." So it could be very bad. I think we're on a clock here and we need to finish this as quickly as possible.
I think you're right.
Let me ask you out the meta here. Do we think we're maybe at a point where we might want to move to like doing the process of opening the door, of walking through and figuring out what's going on? Does that feel like a good step? Are people up for that?
I'm open to that, and I'm happy to retcon following Sister Teresa if we want to like have me there in
Okay.
character too.
Yeah. Let's do that then. We've got one of the facets connected. So we've got that voice. And we've got another set of facets that are available to be set. So the way this is going to work is we're going to walk around. Uh, we'll start. We did Jose set something, so we'll start with Stephen. We'll we'll point at a facet or at a key associate with the facet. We'll talk about how that fits into the mystery, how we're picturing that. So Stephen, starting with you, and then it'll be Beelzebub and then Vane. What key do you want to connect to a facet of mystery? And our mystery are the murder victims, the murder themselves, the decline of the Manananggal, the harbinger, the person who's actually doing this, and then the door of power, what they're like, what the ritual is, or what the thing they're doing, what they're trying to open up to get more power and become more powerful.
I'm going to connect the pamphlet that we found for redevelopment announcing the coming of human-friendly condos, and I'm going to connect that to the decline of the Manananggal.
And how do you think that's connected?
They are. I think that there's an element of the humans are using these events to drive out the people who've been staying here for a long time, the Manananggal.
Okay.
And they kind of are trying to sweep everything under the rug to make it more palatable for the people coming.
Yeah. So there's a deliberate action being taken here by some faction, humans, killer, somebody associated with a killer, something of that sort, that is operating to destroy the Manananggal. Okay. I like that. Beelzebub?
Yes. Yes. So I can pick any of the clues here to connect.
Any of the keys that haven't yet been connected to a facet.
Yeah, yeah. I want to use some of the cool stuff that that Cetus gave us at the beginning too. So I think we're gonna connect this the dagger dripping with a red blood
Okay.
to the door of power. And I think the no, not the dagger connected with the red blood. I'm sorry. No,
That's
no, no,
okay.
no, 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 no. Much better, much better. It should actually be the wedding dress cut in half across the middle.
Okay. Connected with.
Connected with the door of power.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think the thing that maybe we don't realize, or the pattern of the cut, right, is both, you know, where that point of separation would be for Manananggal, whose lower body is separating from their upper body, but it's also like at the door's aperture.
Door's
right?
aperture. We've got these bad relationships, and we've got the wedding dress as a symbolic thing.
Mhm.
It's tied to that kind of
You
marriage
know,
connection.
that the door, the body, and the dress all open in the same way. Right. And we know the door is consuming the souls of these Manananggal, and it will completely open when it's sufficiently fattened.
Okay.
Right. So I think there's this sort of like almost like visual overlay of the three that I think we can sort of I'm not sure how we piece that together, right? But there's I think you know, I think maybe in conversation with Cetus, right? It's Cetus describing that vision, and thinking about the different pieces, it sort of pulls together.
Awesome. Vane.
Well, I think I will pick those rusty keys set with ancient writing
Okay.
that I found, and connect them to the Harbinger. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but I believe that something was unlocked.
Like, so a key component of what the Harbinger's doing is unlocking things with this ritual, opening
Okay.
things up.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying.
Okay. Keys as both a way to open, maybe part of the weapons that are used ritually to do this. I suspect if we were to open that corpse, we might find some keys in there.
Ooh, gruesome. All right.
Yeah. Cetus.
Okay. Wow. So we have something for the decline of the Manananggal, the Harbinger, the murder. Oh, we have one for each now.
Yeah.
Is that something we need to have one for each?
No,
just
not necessarily.
for reference later. Okay. Okay. There's something. Remind me of the graffiti. It was about redemption and punishment.
Essentially, they kept finding these graffiti on the outside. They never spotted anybody that were all about sin and punishment, and very much you're going to hell, that kind of thing, and you must atone, all of that kind of weird repetition of those phrases and so on.
It seems like that might be something about the Harbinger themselves. Because we do have the threads of the hatred and the these are sinful beings, kind of wanting to cleanse the world of all of them. So
Yeah, there's a sense that the Harbinger believes in sin,
right,
believes in the sinful world, and also clearly involved with these people that he thinks are sinful. That there's a weird twistedness to it.
Like, did you say he had 3 wives? There were 3 victims.
3 victims, yeah.
3 victims, and are they all female?
No.
I can't remember. No?
No.
No, okay. But maybe they're all spouses of some sort, spouses to the harbinger, and also somehow vessels of sin to kind of expunge the sin of the Manananggal.
Maybe had these relationships, maybe did some kind of magical marriage within them. It does feel like our harbinger has a lot of self-loathing
Right.
going on there. Okay.
Mhm.
And drag these people into these problematic, abusive, dangerous relationships.
And then kill them.
And then that brings us back to Samson.
I'm gonna select the corroded, busted cell phone from down the throat of Samantha with threatening texts. And I'm gonna tie that to the murder victims. And I think the way that this looks on screen is Samson picks up the cell phone and it's obviously powered off and, unusable. And as he turns it over in his hand, it starts to ring. And after about the second ring, we hear another ring in a distant room, and a third ring the other direction. And it's really spooky to hear these rings as if they're connected. And then I think every phone within earshot all goes off all at once, ringing.
Modern talisman of magic. This phone is. It's not just a channel by which he probably tracked and controlled them, but it's also a part of this murder ritual. Nice. That brings us back to Beelzebub.
Yeah. So let's talk about that dagger.
Okay.
Let's talk about that dagger. I mean, you can't connect the dagger to 2 facets. I mean, it's the murder victims for sure.
Right.
But I think fiddling with the dagger, right, as we found it, right, as it cuts the air, right, the thing that kind of becomes clear, is that, whatever's on the other side of that rupture in the air, which doesn't last long, right? Is it finds itself inside the murder victims when they're still when they're cut with it.
That's how it brings that death into the world.
Yeah.
Like that's the means by which it brings that.
I think thinking also my physical examination of Samantha too, like revealed some of this, right? Where it's like she's cut with the dagger, which cuts the air, and through the which it's not just the air, right? It's the fabric of the world in a sense, and through that gap comes these little hungry deaths.
The harbinger has used these daggers to kill these people as means of enacting this ritual to expunge whatever guilt and shame and opening up the world to summon 3 bad deaths
I think
into the world.
Exactly that.
To help open that gate. And Vane, lastly, where do you think that artifact, what does that artifact tell us?
I think that is part of the decline of the Manananggal, and that actually the decline of this entire species is sort of tied up in the ritual and the apocalypse that's coming.
So the harbingers could have been using the Manananggal's artifacts. Maybe he's been pushing his victims before that to bring him things and then desecrating those. All right. So we have our theory. It holds together. We know what's happening. Now the question is, who wants to roll with a +2? Who rolled last time? Trying to remember. I don't remember. So
We can probably look at the history, can't we?
that'd be back a ways, wouldn't it? That'd be multiple sessions ago on the history for that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
It was Samson.
pardon?
I want to say that it was Samson.
Yeah, I kind of think it was you, Stephen, that rolled the last opening the doors. In which case, Beelzebub, you are up to bat.
My finger was on my nose. Is this? Are we not playing playground rules?
We're not playing playground rules.
All right, it's 2d6 plus 2.
2d6 plus 2.
Okay. That is an 8.
That is an 8. So we are going to take our second break here, and we come back, take 5, and we are going to unlock Doom's door and deal with this Harbinger. So take 5.
Huzzah. You're muted.
There we go. At least once per session. So we're in this alley. Again, we're still out there. The rain is coming down. I imagine that it's one of those kind of spaces between buildings. We do have some, balconies and roofs and sheetings and things up top, but there's still a lot of rain coming through, and where it catches on those places, then it funnels. And so we've got those streams of water coming down in some spots. And there's trash and refuse and things out here, and kind of the light is coming from the ends of this alleyway, and you've kind of been in the doorway now, kind of the 4 of you talking out in the alley, and there's that bit where Samson dials that phone. You can feel that crackle of the energy as something gives, and the sound of that phone. And I think then there's that sound of every phone going off, and a peal of thunder, the flash as the wind picks up, and you will see Sister Teresa come flying out of the doorway, thrown, crashes close by where Cetus fell, and you'll see that body walking more together, more deliberate. You will see Samantha. She's gone. It's just this body. And I think from the mouth of the alley, we will hear the sound of the phone ringing, and we will see these 2 silhouettes there of Lily, who you've seen the picture of, also stitched back, and Jen, that community leader, with mismatched legs on him, and they are striding forward towards where you are, and you can feel these 3 bad deaths closing in on you, and you will see as they stride forward that there is a 4th figure. It's tall, white man. He has perfect hair. He has beautiful teeth. He's got rings. See the glint of his watch. He's got a beautiful suit on, and the rain doesn't touch him. He is square jawed. He's had some work done. He looks good. Got the little perfect pocket handkerchief there on the beautiful suit that he's wearing. And I think all of you see that. I think the only person who sees something different is Cetus. I think he is like a horrible black bent over troll because you can see what he looks like on the inside. And they are moving towards you. You have forced their hand before he can get everything together to do what he needs to do. And now he's forced to act to stop you. So, Cetus, what do you want to do here? And just to be clear about these bodies, those murder victims are gone. They are not left. They have sent those souls on, and these things are little harbingers come to play.
Little baby harbingers come
Yes.
to play. Wow. What are my options here? Endless, of course.
Oh yeah, and to give you another like a layer onto this to add into what you said, I think part of it is that you all have that wedding dress.
Mm-hmm.
You establish that as important, and I think that's the other reason they're here now is they need that. Like I think that's one of the advantages that you all have. Cetus.
So the first thing that occurs to me is that somehow the connection that this man has to the 3 murder victims,
Mm-hmm.
that Cetus can actually sense it. It's not just telepathic; it's probably mystical of some sort as well.
Right.
But there's a way he wants to disrupt it or drown it out, or wipe it out, as a way of slowing this whole process down so that the more brawny members can take him out.
So that does feel like Unleash the Dark because you're going to be
Sure.
using your powers to do that and
Yeah.
making some choices on that list. Are you taking any darkness tokens before you go in for the roll? I think you're already pretty stuffed on those, right?
I've got a few darkness tokens, yeah, so why don't I take a couple? All right. All right, maybe I should have got one. So I'll do a 2. All right, let's see what happens. It's a 10.
It's a 10. So on an 8 to 10, you wield your powers with control, with ease. What do you want as your 2 picks from that list?
Okay, I'm looking. I think it makes sense to say wait a second, let me just see. Sorry, it's 2 from that list. Okay.
Yeah, 2 of them.
I'm gonna pick get past their defenses and inflict a condition.
Okay.
And I imagine that I think narratively what this might look like is all the cell phones shattering at once, and the condition. Do you choose the condition or do I?
I'll choose the condition. What do you
Okay,
want
you
for your
choose the
second
condition.
pick?
And then the second one is, well, he's full of himself, so he's not going to avoid reprisals. Gain the upper hand for now.
Okay. So this is your telepathic release,
Right.
and I think that he will let that out, that shout, that energy out, and Samantha is the closest of these dead, and they will stagger back, confused. And I think that the three of them were move together to like en masse attack one of you. And I think that the other part of this is that you will disrupt them from coordinating, from gathering together such that you'll be able to take them on one, rather than having to deal with them in a group. But I do think that even as you strike Samantha, I think you do hear that and there is a slice in the air as you feel this air cutting blade go through you as Samantha cuts forward. Why don't you go ahead and mark a condition?
Okay. I will mark a condition, and which one makes sense? Oh, I'll say. You have an idea for which one makes sense?
I think that you've drawn its rage. That it is enraged at you, and it's come at you sort of point blank, and it swinging that blade in the air around you.
Yeah, and I think the one other thing I wanted to add to that picture that you drew of the power actually is that it looks like a wave going through all the raindrops.
Oh yeah.
In the air as kind of like a shock wave or something going through, and then that's when all the phones explode, and then the knife comes down and cuts me across the belly. Yeah.
Vane, Samantha has rushed up on to where Cetus is at. There are other two, Lily and Jin, who are moving up, but have kind of spread out. And of course, the man in his perfect suit. What are you doing?
So you see Vane, first you see a look of joy come over her face because it's clear that it's finally time to actually kind of open up a can of whoop ass. And you see her reach out her hand, and the enormous scythe flickers into existence. And she's moving even as it flickers into existence. And she's just going to try and get up and hit that guy with it.
Okay. That is Unleash the Dark. How many do you want to spend?
I'm going to spend 2.
Okay.
All right. I have this time I actually remembered to bring.
Yay.
Oh, good. A 1 and a 2. So 5 altogether.
5 altogether. So I think you go rushing up at this guy. The scythe is out, and I think there's a flicker. You just see his hand do this, and there's a knife there. A beautiful, like a sword cane. It kind of whips out like a snake out of his sleeve. What does he cut off of you?
Oh, wow.
Is it a hand? Is it a finger? Is it an ear? Is it a foot? Okay.
It's an ear.
Yeah. Mark a condition.
Okay.
And it hits, and you're strong, like you are super tough, but you'll feel that of the razor, and then there's the sound of the ocean coming out as your demon blood pumps.
Right.
What color is your demon blood? Is it red?
It's a kind of Icarus purplish green.
Then we see that coming out of where your ear was a moment ago.
Okay.
But you're up by him.
But I'm what?
But you are up by him.
I'm up by him. Excellent.
And you see him step back, and he brushes some of your blood off of his suit. Beelzebub.
Yeah, I think after watching, like, especially Vane, just like that sort of very physical attack. I think we're gonna see a different side of Beelzebub that we haven't really seen before. I think I sort of stand tall, and I still got some of that like ichor and gore right from the snake on me, although it's probably a little dried and crusty by now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking not at my best and angry and still craving and hungry, honestly.
Oh,
And
yeah. And Sister Teresa is right there on the ground by you. And certainly these things are probably going to try and kill her as well.
yeah, and I think what happens is I kind of stand up straight, and I like I think as Vane is doing what they're doing, as taking swinging around that scythe, I sort of like take off my blazer jacket, right, my blazer that I was wearing, sort of like shake the tattered remains off, and I stand up tall, and my mouth opens wide, and like the top of my head, or really like my face, almost like a hood comes off with that human face, right, revealing the demonic face underneath. And I bellow in an echoing voice as my haunting aura radiates off me, um, uh, this this melancholic vibe of like hunger and and rage and despair, and I bellow, "Foolish little creatures, I am Beelzebub, devourer of hope, who consumes everything you want. And you say you want to feed on this misery, on the misery of this world. You dream of it growing. No. Your hopes are nothing but my next meal. Go away. This door is not yours to open." And I'm using my ruin move, Tremble Before Me.
Okay.
"Your words once swayed gods and broke the gates of heaven. When you speak in your true and ancient voice, all living mortals are driven to despair. When you unleash the dark and enforce your will socially or emotionally," I think I'm doing that here.
Okay.
"You may choose to mark one ruin. If you do, treat the move as if you rolled an 8 to 10 and choose 4 options instead of 2.
Okay.
I'm going to mark that ruin.
All right.
And which 4 things am I choosing? Get past their defenses and inflict a condition.
On who?
I mean, I think it's got to be on at least one of those corpses, right?
Okay. Then I think that Samantha is the one closest one to
Yeah.
you, and already hurt by Cetus's attack, and I think that you will push that death out of it. You will shatter its bonds to the realm, and that body will collapse.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think I'm going to avoid reprisals, harm, or cost.
Okay.
I want to expose or weakness or flaw in this harbinger, in this shimmering illusion of a man.
I think that, like, you can see it. I think Cetus can communicate this to you, that he believes in the sin and destruction, but he's also a sinner, and he is absolutely caught up in that cycle of self-loathing and abusing others. Like that he is at heart a creature driven by a strong Catholic sense of guilt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and gain the upper hand for now. Those are the 4 choices.
Okay.
And also,
I think that is reverberating through here.
But that's also my 5th rune. So I think we'll see some of that. I'm gonna permanently mark lonely.
Yeah. Like, what do you see? Because when you mark that 5th rune, there is a bit where you're going to get to take a rune, but you also see a glimpse of what you don't want, of becoming that harbinger.
Yeah,
what do you see?
I think it's very straightforward, right? I consume the desire of these little deaths, right? To feed on the misery of the world, and I consume the harbinger's desire to open the door. And with all of that power, I turn and open the door myself.
Yeah, yeah, you see a flash of that possible future.
Mm-hmm.
Samson. Vane is up by this harbinger. There are two of these bad deaths there that are moving forward. Sister Teresa is on the ground. Beelzebub has let loose. What do you do?
I don't think times are desperate yet, so I'm going to analyze the situation.
Okay.
And I have a move, so like a steel trap. When you
Okay.
study a tense situation, spend darkness tokens and roll. So I'm going to spend 2.
Okay.
And that's an 8. And I think because I'm reacting with cold reason and logic in this case, I'll take a darkness token back.
Sure.
An 8 gets me 2 questions. One is, how could we best end this quickly?
He has invested a lot of power in those deaths. He has done a lot of work. And while you would think it would be destroying him, it's actually to weaken him to really stop this from going any further. You need to get those deaths.
And the other is, which of our powers of darkness would be most effective?
That is a good question. Let's see. Give me a second. I think that Cetus actually has the most effective against these deaths in some ways because these things are abstractions. They are forces. The physical world is not as effective against them. And they are also creatures of passion and emotion. And so they're vulnerable on that score.
And I think I tell, the way this looks on screen is Samson kind of steps out and says, if we take out the dead bodies, it will weaken him the most. And I turn to Cetus and I say, go, use your strength. You can take these emotions from them.
That brings us to you, Cetus.
Okay, so Cetus is holding his side where he's been cut by the by the blade, but he's strong and he's still standing. And I think he's turning on the 2 death thralls or whatever they are exactly. And I think I think it's a telepathic attack again, but this time what it is focusing on the self-hatred and the guilt, which kind of is what they're trying to project out
Right.
into the world. And it's actually trying to contain that and reflect it back into them. And I think the way it looks is, again, the raindrops kind of coalesced into this kind of mirror-like sheet that is trying to like surround the two of them and reflect back all their hatred onto themselves.
Are you using one of your playbook moves or your ruin moves? Or are you using?
I think I just made that up. There are two possibilities here. I could use a ruin move, or I could use, I don't know if that's just an expression of my telepathic powers.
We can do it a couple of different ways. I know you've got some interesting moves that reflect emotional control and stuff.
Yeah, I do. Okay. I have this one. There's a ruin move that says where do you end and where do I begin, that allows me to shift the nature of emotions and desires. Actually, no, I know them. All right, maybe I should do that.
Yeah. So you don't have to roll. You just mark
Oh,
that ruin,
I just don't have to.
and
Oh, that no roll.
like you turn to this first one with that ruin move. You just mark the ruin. Tell me what that looks like when you take out one of them. Do you take out the lily dead, or do you take out the Jinn dead?
I'll take out the lily.
Okay.
And I think again, it's a sense of like this, the raindrops turning into this sheet of water that looks reflective, and then kind of wrapping itself around her, and then and she raises her hands up like she's being accosted by her own hatred, and then it wraps her like a mummy, and then she falls apart like a zombie that's been held together by.
Absolutely. You tear that emotional core out of this bad death, shatter it in that, crush it in that, and then the body just gives way, and all over the alleyway when you do that. And there's just one left. Vane.
Oh, you see Vane kind of actually not so much staggers as just as kind of mildly astonished that someone has actually dared to lay a hand on her. And you can see, and as she sort of realized what has gone on, it's clear that just her temper goes from a 10 to an 11, and she's going to swipe at him again.
Okay. Let us have you go ahead and roll. How many darkness tokens do you want to spend?
Let's spend 2.
Okay. Do you think you generated any darkness tokens?
I think I because I'm unleashing the dark, I think I would have gotten 3. So
Yep.
I should be at 5.
Oh yeah.
All right. So 3 plus 8 would be an 11.
Be an 11. Now, that is a little bit above the sweet spot, but if you want to burn a bond, you can take it down to the 10 result there.
Can I burn a bond with the angel Goramo?
Oh yeah, how does that memory of that asshole push you?
Man, I see his face overlying that guy's face, and for a minute I'm just like, "Wah," and that's what I do.
Yeah, I think there's also maybe a flash to you imagining him in the break room laughing at you losing an ear.
Oh God, yes, yes. All right, and so just yes.
Okay. So with Unleash the Dark, you get to choose 2. You can choose the same thing twice if you want. What do you want to do?
I'm sorry, I don't have Unleash the Dark up. Let me
okay.
pull it up. This is the most exciting moment of the game as everyone watches me scroll. All right. I'm going to get past their defenses and inflict a condition.
Okay.
And I'm going to avoid reprisals, harm, or cost.
I think this is now the moment where you push back on him, and it is him swinging that blade around, your sickle coming down, both of you slicing down through, and I think there's a moment where you like hit him, knock him back, but then your sickle comes around in that arc, and the other end of it with the blade on the other end just cuts across, and you see his suit go open, and blood, and it doesn't run off like water off a duck's back this time. You can see it stain, and he kind of shakes himself up and gets ready to come back in, but you have injured him, and he has laid not a finger on you.
Excellent. Excellent. All right.
Beelzebub. There's one of these dead that remains.
Sorry, that was badass.
It was.
Do we need to do we need to deal with the dead before we can deal with the harbinger here?
That's the impression that Samson had.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm sitting there with my my face hanging off the back of my head like a hoodie hood, as you so aptly put it there. You know, glaring at this last dead. And I reach inside of myself to draw on a harbinger of elemental strength and fury, or to attempt to.
Hey.
And so I'm gonna roll 2d6.
How many are you spending?
I think I'm okay with spending 3 on this, I think. No, I'm just gonna spend 3 and not gonna worry about
Okay.
the other business. I can pick up more darkness tokens later. And yeah. Where's the die roller? 2d6 plus 3. That's a 10. That turned out better than I thought it would.
Okay.
So yeah.
What do you want?
So I think this is now me, right? Just, you know, shedding my clothes and my skin, revealing that alien monstrous form that looks like a demon, even if it isn't, that form of my hunger, and just like shredding into that body with my claws and teeth and horns. No, wait, no, this isn't me. This is a harbinger. I'm sorry. That's so I think it's again those bone spurs and tusks that I described in the previous time I did this. But it's still me physically just like rending them apart with rage. And yeah. And so I where can I find the move? I inflict 2 conditions on the target, but I take 1 in return. Which hits my breaking point.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that in a minute, I think.
Absolutely. Especially since you've got a building full of innocents and Sister Teresa right nearby. So you're going to be killing a lot of people here.
No, only hunger remains. I'll feed on myself instead.
Come back to that if you're going to
Yes,
choose
exactly.
that way.
Exactly.
Samson, you will see Beelzebub destroy this last of these bodies. And he's kind of shaking with his hunger, but you also see that Vane is up there with this harbinger. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna step up behind Vane and kind of place my hand on their shoulder. And I lean forward and I tell this slick man who has the recent cut across his chest, what goes around comes around. And as I step back, I raise my voice and I call forth the dead that he has caused to attack him.
Ooh.
And I think that's Unleash in the Dark.
Yeah.
And I'll spend 3 tokens as well. To roll that. Ooh, that's a 12.
That is a 12. So your control falters and you go too far, you get to choose one, but the keeper describes an unintended consequence.
And I'll inflict a condition.
Okay. And I think that you are swept up by the force of this calling of the dead, like a lot of dead. And I think there's this swell of that. And let's go ahead and have you mark distracted. I think that your mind is grabbed up by that as they are pushing along, but he is screaming and staggering backwards away from this. That's that like you can see that the dead are raising around him. Vane, tell me how you finish him off.
I just kind of snarl, and you can see that just the blood is still, because it's a head wound. It just, and you see just like the huge sweep of the scythe coming across. It just actually lops his head off.
Yeah, he looks up and you see his face kind of transform as he tries to like put on the charm for just a moment, like his smile of his teeth kind of tries to project that, and then his head is in the air and it is spraying. So let's look at the hungry. When you hit your breaking point, your only hunger, describe how your hunger ravages and cruelly transform your body, how you lose control of the monster inside you and leave carnage and terror in your wake.
Except I have a ruin move until only hunger remains. You and the hunger know each other intimately. The hunger has broken and remade you again and again over the years, leaving behind your insides changed and yearning. You know that the hunger is reshaping you to fulfill its greatest desire. When you take this move, create your own personal doomsday clock with 4 ticks and name it Only Hunger Remains, which I have highlighted in red on my character sheet.
Nice.
When you are about to hit your breaking point, you can choose to give in to desperation and feed on yourself instead. Mark 1 ruin and tick Only Hunger Remains once, which I have done. Describe the feeding and how your hunger grows more twisted and despairing.
They have taken care of the dead, and they could feel the change in you, but what do they see happen? What does it look like when you pull back away from that precipice?
Yeah, so the first thing that happens is all the manifestation of that harbinger that I pulled on from inside me, to take out that last that third little death, dissolves into my body, leaving only that image of the hunger, the yellow demon, wounded by the by the by the the sort of like sharp bone spurs and places where the muscle bulked out through the skin,
Right.
and I'm there sort of like shattered and trembling in pain and despair. I think the haunting aura like radiates off me with that same kind of despair, and that we were discussing before, and the ground around. And if they've seen my corrupting touch before, I think they see its effects on my body too, the sort of withering and fading for a moment, as like the power that was going to explode outward is instead of pulled in. And I don't think they can see this part, but what I'm feeling, right, this is like I don't know how many people have had this experience before, but the experience of like really bad heartburn and indigestion where it feels like your stomach is digesting itself. That's how I describe it sometimes. And like throughout
arcane acid reflux. Okay.
yeah, a little bit like throughout my entire body. And so I'm just sort of like there and sort of like shiver, like trembling. I don't think I moan, but like again, the haunting aura sort of like radiates out that fear, and I rewrite the nature of what I feed on and what I leave behind. So that's
let's sit on that for next hour.
Okay.
Let's have a change thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to. I think like we see the head roll across, the bodies have decayed, the rain is still coming down. I think I want to do like a mission epilogue, give everybody a chance to do kind of like a little epilogue. We imagine then the group heading back, and so Cetus, in the aftermath of this case, you're still on the ground there in Manila, in the immediate aftermath or a little bit down the road. What is the little epilogue we want to see for your character here for this moment?
So I think Cetus has shrunk back to his normal size, and I think we see him, just walking down the alleyways of Manila by himself at this point, and even though he shrunk back to his normal size and he looks like he has more control, those cracks in his face and in his skin are still pretty noticeable and deep, more noticeable. So he still has some scars from that memory that came up for him at the beginning of the session. And then we just see him kind of step into out of existence into a dream, and walk off back into that same place that we saw him in that first dream, that is the way he came to Manila,
Okay.
which was the canyon of the obsidian glass canyon, and we just see him walking down through that canyon.
Dieselbub, what do we see for you in that epilogue there?
I think it's like two sort of like quick little scenes. The first is a shower, right? And it's just like it's literally like two shots, right? It's sort of me from the chest or shoulders up with the shower beating down on my face, my eyes shut, back fully in human form, and then a shot to the drain of all the sort of gross stuff spiraling down, sort of like Psycho style, but without the music. I think this is all in silence, and then it's a scene of me having a conversation with Sister Teresa. Again, we don't hear the conversation, right? It's just like literally maybe a 2 or 3 second shot. But you see my eyes as we're like, I'm smiling. It's like almost she's the same severe sort of Sister Teresa we've seen, but like you can see I'm kind of lighthearted, joking with her, as she's looking less and less happy, and you see my eyes, and I don't think we talked about this, but my eyes, whereas before they, when in my more monstrous form, they were kind of bright red. Now they're like kind of a sickly green.
Nice.
And we get that monstrous, like my human eyes, and then a quick flash of that green, which we'll retcon to say we had a close up of my red eyes earlier, so now it's different.
Bane, what about you? What do we see for your epilogue?
You see me searching for my ear in the floor, and trying to find that basically. Looking kind of, disgruntled about that, but generally happy that we did solve things with violence. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Feel pretty satisfied. Like, do you find your ear? You're muted.
Yes, but I don't know that I can reattach it, but at least I have it now.
Imagine a little bit of wiping off of it and getting it set. Somebody brings you like a cup full of ice to
Very
put
kind.
that in.
Yes, lovely.
Samson, what about you? What is your epilogue for this?
I think we see, the rain's coming down, and we're kind of in on the outskirts of the city, and we see 3 caskets set out into the field, and they have freshly dug graves that are nearby, and we see a group of mourners, and Samson's kind of on the periphery; he's in the back, and we see part of a ceremony going on, and the people being laid to rest, and as time goes on, we see Samson looking more and more kind of deflated, mournful. And then I think we see Sister Teresa come back from the ceremony, and walk past Samson and kind of put a hand on his arm. And then she leaves, and Samson walks over to the graves and bends over and picks up a handful of dirt and throws one in each grave, and then turns and walks off.
Excellent. Samson, what was your XP question for the session?
It was find something or someone worth living for.
What do you think? Do you think you...
I don't think I found anything here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you express your monstrous nature and or your humanity?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. So mark an XP for that. Did you learn something significant about yourself and or your impending ruin?
I learned that there are other deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd give you a point for that. That seems reasonable. And did you learn something significant about a fellow monster?
Oh, I learned Cetus sometimes needs support from
Okay.
others. Yeah.
I like that. So mark XP for that. And you unlocked Doom's Door, so no ruin. Vane, what was your XP trigger question?
It was, did you learn something significant about your prophecy? And I don't believe that I did.
Not yet. Did you express your monstrous nature and or your humanity?
I believe so, yes.
I think there counts as the humanity side. So mark XP for that. Did you learn something significant about yourself and or your impending ruin?
I learned Beelzebub can fold his head back like a hoodie. Does that count? Because that was horrific.
I think that's a fellow monster one, so yeah, I'll give you XP for that. But what about, did you learn something about yourself?
Yes, I learned somebody can chop my ear off. I did not expect that. Nobody's done that before, so yeah.
Shocking to be like have part of yourself removed. I mean, you're tough. You're used to bruises, hits, things like that, but that was completely new.
Not bits going away.
Yeah. Beelzebub.
Yes.
What is your XP trigger for the playbook?
It was find a willing victim.
I know. I believe that this time.
I did.
Did you express your monstrous nature and or humanity?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
you did actually. Yeah, I think you did find a willing victim. Yes, yeah, that's right. Okay, mark XP for that. Did you learn something significant about yourself and or your impending ruin?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we certainly had that little vision as you hit 5 ruin.
Mm-hmm.
And did you learn something significant about a fellow monster?
Oh, I learned a bunch of stuff. I learned that Cetus's body is very malleable, and apparently related to his emotional state. That seems to be the. I kind of told him that, but I don't think I knew it was true when I said it.
Mm-hmm.
Until it worked. Also a little bit about Samson's relationship to death.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Perfect. Mark XP for that. Cetus.
May I ask a question?
Oh, please.
Did you take XP for finding a willing victim?
Yeah.
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 Okay, good.
Yeah. I said no, and then he was right. I realized I forgot that Cetus was that. So
Well, and I was going to say I think he's that too
yeah. Oh yeah,
because he
there is
fed on
that too.
himself. Yeah.
Maybe, but I think see this definitely qualifies.
Yeah. Cetus, what was your XP trigger?
Let's see. It was, did you lose yourself to the past and its memories? I think at the very onset scene, I think.
Oh
that was-
yeah, yeah. When he felt the memories of the feelings of this harbinger.
Mhm.
Uh,
And
did you express your monstrous nature and or your humanity?
I think both, I think, in a variety of ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities to do that.
Mark XP for that. So did you learn something about yourself or what's coming through you in terms of your ruin?
I'm not sure.
Had you ever, let me ask you this, like had you ever had your body changed like that before? Was that new for you? The way you were when you fell out that window? Was
Yeah,
that
I
new
think the
or
losing control of my own shape, of my own form, and the
yeah.
possibility of losing all form, I think maybe was impressed upon me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's worth an XP. And did you learn something significant about a fellow monster?
I feel like I learned, like I knew Samson was gonna help me out. I didn't learn something new about him, but Beelzebub, I think I learned his self-control. I mean, I always see him kind of as losing his shit all over the place.
Right?
Self-control in feeding upon me, and then in that final scene when watching him feed upon himself.
Perfect. I would like to do a quick stars and wishes if you guys y'all don't mind. We'll go back the other way. Jose, can I start with you?
Wow, this is a great session. So many good scenes. The cell phone was amazing. Stephen, thank you so much for that image. That's going to stick with me. Beelzebub, I love the scene in the alleyway where we kind of went at it with one another a bit in a variety of different ways. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that relationship continues to evolve. And Vane, I love the final epilogue of you looking for your ear. And that will also stick with me, like looking through the grunge of the alley for that one little demon ear. I hope we can find a way to stick it back on. And Lowell, thank you so much for all the rich details in the setting and especially in that last scene. The way you set up that whole last scene was very dramatic and very climactic. It was a lot of fun. So thank you for that.
Anything wishes wise?
Oh, wishes. No, I don't think I have any
Okay.
wishes right now.
All
No.
right. All right. Jesse.
Yeah. Oh, there was so much awesome stuff here. Big stars to you, Lowell. Especially, I want to like spotlight some of that early stuff with Samson. I mean, everything was great. Some of that, so like big stars to you there. For the little death, the introduction of the little death, and Samantha and Emily left. Oh, that was heartbreaking. Emily left crying on the floor. Oh my goodness, broke my heart, and really, really. Well, I was kind of sad we didn't get to see what happened there. But probably better that we didn't.
Yeah.
Beelzebub didn't learn something about Samson, but Jesse learned something about Samson when Samson left her in that room. Not something I would have expected. And yeah, big stars to all the players too. Jose, that scene with you was fantastic. I had a really liked that moment there. And I mean, I already mentioned Stephen, that bit with Emily and walking out, which I just thought was wonderful on your end too. And oh, Kat, I love watching Vane fight. I love your descriptions of that kind of. You play Vane so cool most of the time, as like moving through space, and then like you hit these triggers, these moments where like all of the violence and anger, and sometimes it's in a fight, and sometimes, I mean, we didn't see that, like, you know, sometimes it's like the dollhouse in that earlier session, but like there's always one or two of these like awesome, just like, you know, it all comes out moments, and that when your scythe appeared here and you went after that it was very cool. So big stars there. Really fun session. Wishes, this is like, you know, I'm just, this is going to be pointed at one player in particular. But like I'm super intrigued by Samson right now. I'm just gonna say it, Stephen. These like the relationship with death and like, you know, these other deaths, and what does that mean, and what does that mean, not just what does that mean in like the sense of the like world building or whatever, what does that mean for you? So I'm excited to see how that plays out. I might want to like get Beelzebub into some of those conversations, because I think that's fun and cool. So just flagging that this particular moment, because I don't think we did much together this session. And in general, you know, Vane also, like, I want more scenes with Vane next time too.
Okay.
There's a lot of kind of like one-on-one, except for that scene with Cetus this session. So
Awesome. Kat?
Well, I gotta say, there were so many kind of spooky, intense little touches, and just the cell phone thing was just freaky and kind of like horror movie worthy. So way kudos for that. Just really fun. I felt like at this time we got to see, we did have those kind of sort of like solo moments, but it was interesting because we did see kind of like Cetus falling apart and Beelzebub kind of giving way to his hunger, and Samson, as ever, dealing with death in various forms. But it was just, I thought, this game is just so much fun, and it's just. I will also echo the let's have more scenes all together, because I do think it's fun when we are all playing off of each other as well.
Excellent. Well, and certainly next time we'll we'll be back at Divisions, and we'll get a chance to do some of those decompression scenes and things set up for that. And Stephen.
Yeah. So there were a number of, you know, things during the session that were just surprising to me. I liked like that, you know, the first scene between Cetus and Beelzebub, and I fully expected Beelzebub to try to feed off of Cetus, but Cetus's reaction was surprising, and I was like, oh, that's so good. And maybe I should have said this as an XP trigger, but I found out that Beelzebub is self-sacrificing. You know, will eat a part of himself as opposed to all these innocent lives for some reason. And I really enjoyed whenever I came back to the group with the what was her name? Samantha. And Vane was just flummoxed. Vane was like, what do I do with this? What do you want? I really enjoyed that. I liked that interaction. And let's see. I thought I had a wish. I can't remember what it was. It seemed like there was something in the system that seemed a little repetitive.
Okay.
And I couldn't think of I can't think of what it was now, but
Well, if you think of it, message me.
I will.
Yeah. Because that always helps. Like if there are places where we're hearing some friction, I know that as a GM that I can work to alleviate. I always appreciate that. Thank you all so much. So this is the finish of our second case. We'll move into Division and the third case next time, subtitled The Parasitic Library. So that is the name of the next case. So I will tell you that right now. So I am going to stop the recording.